Hey Divine Ones, it's Latoya Okeia, your life coach and your motivational speaker. This video is going to be a little bit different than my other videos. On this video, I want to specifically talk to my ladies that have gone through a divorce. Specifically if you have kids, or maybe you don't have kids, but if you do have kids, this is really for you. This is really for you. But I want to let you know that there is life after divorce, okay? There is life after divorce. Life goes on. There is happiness after divorce. There is purpose after divorce. Many times, if you like me, you may be in a situation where you actually find yourself after your divorce. But I want to talk to the woman that feels like, there is no her without this marriage, and that she just don't see her way. She just don't see how she gonna be able to make it out of this. She never planned for this. She never expected this, and maybe it just hit you all of a sudden, or maybe you were the one that filed for the divorce, and you had a hard time with that, and you just didn't want to do it, but you was put in a situation to where you had to do it. I want to talk to you. This video is for you. I want to let you know that there is life after divorce. Even though that was the end of a family, that was the end of a chapter, that does not mean that that's the end of your life. Okay? That's only one chapter that closed in your life. But your book is not finished. You are yet still writing your book. And I want to let you know that after your divorce, if you sit home and it's just you and your kids especially, this is the time for you to find yourself. This is the time for you to get with God. This is the time for you to spend time with your Creator. Listen, I know the tears, sometimes, especially if this was an all of a sudden thing for you, you can't stop the tears from falling. Let me tell y'all, I'm just going to be real, and I'm just going to be transparent with y'all, okay? I've been there. And I heard Tony Gaskin say this, and it really hit home for me. But he said, in order for you to be able to truly help people, you have to expose yourself. You have to expose yourself. And it's those stories that we don't want nobody to know. You know what I'm saying? It's those things that we done been through that we don't want nobody to know. But you got to tell it, because it's going to help somebody. So hopefully through my story, it'll be able to help somebody. It'll be able to inspire somebody. But I'm 32 years old. I got married when I was 20. I was 20 years old. I was so young, didn't know nothing. Didn't know nothing about myself, didn't know nothing about the world, but all I knew was I was in love, and I just thought that would be enough. And so I got married, and throughout the marriage, we had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. I can tell you this. I can remember times, where there was physical abuse. And I'm going to tell y'all, both of us was toxic. It wasn't just him. I was toxic too. It'd be time where we'll be fighting one another. Y'all seen that scene from Ike and Tina Turner on What's Love Got to Do With It? What's Love Got to Do With It, when Tina got tired of Ike beating on her, and Tina, they was in that limo, baby, and Tina was letting them have it. Do you hear me? That's the way we was. Do you understand me? Because I'm telling y'all, look at me, and I see when I was in that marriage, all I could see was him. Oh, he need to change. He toxic. He this, he that. But see, now that I'm healing, and I'm really healed, but I'm still in the process of healing too. Because finding yourself, discovering yourself, that's a lifetime journey. But I'm nowhere where I used to be, okay? And looking back on that now, I could say that I was toxic. I was toxic. And I think for us as women, when we look back, when I say this, I say for us as women, when we in it, it's hard for us to see the toxic. It's hard for us to see the toxic part of us. It's so easy for us to see. Now, if he's beating on you, listen to what I'm saying, beloved. If he is abusive to you and he is putting his hands on you, it ain't nothing you could have did that could make him that mad to put his hands on you. He ain't got no business putting his hands on you. You should have left, and you should have been left, okay? So I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about, them irreconcilable differences. I say that. And then sometimes, it'll get physical every now and then. But you know, there was a lot of occasions where I wasn't physical with him and he was physical with me. I'm just being real with y'all. You know, in front of my kids, hands being put on in front of my kids. So many times, I'm gonna tell y'all, I got so tired of being in the hospital and the jailhouse. Them were two places that I got so tired of being at, because it looked like every time I turn around, either we in the hospital for something, or either I'm up here at the jailhouse filling out a police report, or my kids gotta put in a police report for something, or they gotta tell their story of it or tell their testimony because they witnessed the whole thing, everything happening in front of them. Just a mess. But I think so many times as women, we stick it out, we hold on because we don't want to mess up the family. We don't want our kids to be the one that ain't got their daddy. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you didn't grow up with your daddy there and you didn't have that, you know, you just didn't have that male figure around to just, and I think a lot of people don't even realize, for a woman, for a girl growing up, how important it is for you to have your daddy. I'm telling you. And then just how important it is for you to be able to have that male figure there that you can call daddy. Because, you know what I'm saying, living my whole life, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make there's going to be a lot of people mad from this video, but I got to be real. I got to be transparent. Living my whole life and not having nobody to call daddy, not having nobody to, you know, not having that male figure that was there that I could bond with every day, you know what I'm saying? Or every week, or just have that regular conversation with my daddy, or just be able to, I ain't gonna cry, y'all. I'm like Mary J. Blige, I ain't gonna cry. But I'm just being real with y'all. It weighs on you not having, you know, not having that male figure in your life like that, and not having somebody that you could just say daddy. Like, just walking in the house and just be able to say, daddy, look, or daddy, let me tell you what happened, or daddy, what you think about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, just not being able to have that, it matters to you. And it makes all the difference in the type of men that you pick, in the type of trials and tribulations that you go through in relationships and marriages. So me thinking about that and how I didn't have that, and then me having a daughter and two sons, I was like, man, I don't want my daughter to be like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want I want my daughter, I want my baby to be raised up in the house with her daddy. I want her to be able to, you know, run in the kitchen and jump in her daddy's arm. Or I want her to be able to, you know, come home and say, daddy, look what I made. Or look, daddy, or, you know, when she scrape her knee and you know, he clean it off and put the Band-Aid on it. Or, you know, when she go to her prom, you know, when he scared a dude up, come out with the shotgun and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted my kids to have that. I wanted my sons to have their daddy. And I think as women, that's why we hold on a lot of times to stuff that's dead, to stuff that been dead a long time ago. But we say, you know, for the sake of the kids, you hold on. And even when your kids, actually what they seeing is hurting them. It's not helping them, it's hurting them. But you trying to hold on, and this was me, trying to hold on to the fact, well, I want them in the house with their daddy. I want them to grow up with their daddy. But we got to come to a point in our life where we say, I want my kids to grow up with love. I want them to have love. And if that means you giving them love all by yourself, that's what you got to do. But I want to tell you that if you have gone through a divorce and you sitting, this is for the woman that done went through a divorce and you sitting there with these babies and you trying to figure out, or teenagers, however old your kids are, it don't matter. You sitting there trying to figure out how in the world you going to make ends meet, how in the world you going to take care of these kids, because you one of them mamas like me that you is not going to run behind nobody. You got this mindset. If you got this mindset like me, you saying, well, you know, you grown, you a whole adult out here. I'm not going to run behind you. I'm not going to, you know, call you 99 times. I'm not going to do none of that. And I want to tell you that you don't have to do none of that. You don't have to do none of that, because you have a father that sits high and looks low, And God would not have gave you these children had he not gave you the means and the capability to be able to take care of these children. Every mother has you have that instinct on the inside of you. It's in every female. It's in every female, even the animals. It's in every female. You have that instinct in you to take care of your young. You have that instinct in you that it kick in. Even when and I'm gonna tell y'all, for the longest time when I was in my marriage, I was scared because I felt like I couldn't do it by myself. You know how it get to the point where it be so bad where you want to go, but you scared to go because you ain't never did it on your own with your kids. You know what I'm saying? And then especially if you ain't never lived on your own by yourself, which was the case with me. I had never lived on my own by myself. And it was just scary. And I'm going to tell y'all, whenever you getting ready to branch out into something unknown, into something new, it's scary. It's scary. And a lot of times we have to realize that really all we need to do is take one foot and put it in front of the other one and let God do the rest. But I'm going to tell y'all, just thinking back in the times of the marriage, you know, I stayed because my kids. Because I wanted my kids to have a family. I wanted them to have their daddy. And even though I think as women, we know we're not getting the love that we need, we just forget about us. We don't even be worried about us no more. And that's what I did. I just forgot about me. Like, I just wasn't even worried. Like, I'm not getting the love I need. You know, this is toxic for me. And I just said, well, okay, that's fine. I'm just not even worried about me. As long as they have their daddy, I'm good. And you will say that for a while, but I'm going to tell you, after a while, that ain't even going to be enough for you. That ain't even going to be enough for you. Because you can say, well, as long as they have their daddy, you're going to be good. But no, you're not going to be good. Because if you're not taking care of you giving them halfway love. You're not even really loving them for real because you're not loving you. You got to love you. You got to love yourself in order for you to be the mama that these kids need you to be. I'm telling y'all. I can remember times in my marriage where I couldn't buy my baby no diapers. I couldn't buy them no diapers. I had to borrow money to buy diapers. I can remember times where we'll be in a broke down vehicle. Do you hear me? A broke down vehicle. It's 100 degrees out the door. I kid y'all not. It's 100 degrees out the door. And I got my 3 babies in the car. And I remember one day we was at the gas station getting some gas, and I was counting quarters. Count quarters to put, like $5 worth of gas in the car. Count quarters. And I remember it was so hot that day. It was so hot. And after I had got the gas in the car. After I had scraped up the change I had to put the gas in the car wouldn't crank. The car would not crank. And I don't even think I had no phone on me that day. I can't even remember how we got home. It was so hot that day, I don't even remember how we got home. I want to say somebody at the store gave us a ride. Somebody at the store gave us a ride to get home. But I just remember when we got home, our clothes were drenched in sweat, just hot. The kids, them babies were crying because my kids were small. I'm tell y'all, I had 3 kids in 5 years, okay? Within a 5-year time span, I had 3 babies. So you know they was babies. I had 3 babies, and we were so hot that day, the car broke down. And that would be all the time, y'all. That would be all the time. I stayed broke down. I used to pray and cry to God, God, please, give me a car. Give me a dependable car. Give me a new car. I just need a new car. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford a payment for a new vehicle. So I can remember a time where me and my babies, we went through lemon after lemon after lemon after lemon. Do you hear me? It was so much lemon juice floating around in there, baby. All them lemons we went through. It was just hard. And then I can remember a time when in a house that we was living in. This was all during my marriage now. In a house that we were living in. And I ain't have no heat, and I ain't have no air in the house. We had air conditioner units in the window, and but I ain't have no heat. And when it was cold in the house. And when it was hot in the house. And I can remember when it was hot and I put my kids to sleep. And I have to put a fan on them. I would have to put a fan on them. And my kids will be sweating in their sleep. I'm laying it bare. I'm telling y'all the real, because you need to hear the real. You need to hear the transparent. I can remember time where it was cold and my children slept in hoodies. Slept in my bed with me. And I had a ceramic heater that I put in my room and closed the door so we could keep all the heat in the room. And took all the cover that I could find in the house and put it on the bed. And me and my children slept with hoodies on. I can remember time where I ain't have no stove. I ain't have no refrigerator. I had got my mama had gave me a, you know, one of the little mini refrigerators that you could put in your bedroom. I had one of them, and I had one of them little, the little stove just the eye by itself. And that's what I would cook for my children on. The little eye that you plug into the wall is one little stove eye. And I had a mini refrigerator. It was when I tell you I struggled. And I remember times where I would say, this is my life. You know what I'm saying? This is my life. This is what I settled for. I might as well just accept it. You know, this is my life. You know, going through, you know, being cheated on as I was pregnant. I could tell y'all, the days that I was pregnant, like I said, I had 3 babies during a 5-year time span within my marriage. And I can remember, I kid y'all not, the days that the months that I was pregnant was some of the worst times of my life. That was some of the worst times of my life. And I remember thinking, like, Lord, you know, because I thought I couldn't have children. And then I was able to start having children. And I remember thinking, you know, I'm so happy that I'm able to, you know, bear children and have children. But why I got to suffer like this during this time? And I'm talking about heartache to where I would be so, women, y'all know what I'm talking about. You ever had that kind of pain? You ever been hurt so bad during your pregnancy and then I could feel my baby moving. My baby was moving and kicking, and I would just be so hurt and trying to pull it together. You know what I'm saying? Be to find out something or be to heard something and trying to pull it together, trying to hold it together, because I know I got a whole life inside of me that I'm carrying, and that everything I feel, this baby can feel. But, you know, just enduring so much pain and so much heartache. I can remember time where I'd be so hurt by stuff, beloved. I'm talking about I would be up against the wall, sliding down the wall, crying, Lord, why me? It would be just that painful. It would be just that painful. I can remember, oh my goodness. Y'all gonna have to y'all gonna have to bear with me on this video, because this is this ain't nothing edited or nothing. This is just the real and the raw. This is just plain out, bare out, transparent. I can remember when I finally, because I had said I was gonna leave multiple times. I had said I was gonna get a divorce multiple times. When I finally made up in my mind to do it, I'll never forget that day. When I finally made up in my, it was before I filed for the divorce. This was like coming up to the separation. I'll never forget that day, because it was an altercation and my children were right there. My baby wasn't there. He was in daycare, but my oldest 2 was right there. And at that time, my kids were 4 and 5, and they were right there. And there was an altercation, and I can remember being on the ground that day, and I think they call it like an epiphany, but I can remember being on the ground that day, and it's like I just came to myself. And normally I would have been fighting. Do you hear me? I told y'all we were just like Tina Turner in that limo that day. Normally I would have been fighting, baby. But that day, I'll never forget it. It was like a turning point in my life. That day, I was tired of fighting. I ain't even want to fight no more. I ain't even have no more fight in me. I ain't even want to fight no more. And I can remember laying on the ground. And I just couldn't even fight back. I just couldn't even, you know, swing back or hit back or nothing. And when I got up off of that grind, and I got my kids, and we got in that car, I knew then. And this is the thing. I ain't say nothing to nobody. Normally, I be done called my mama, be done did this, be done did that. When I made up in my mind for real that was it and I was gone, I was silent. I was quiet. I didn't say nothing. But I knew in here what was taking place. And I remember that day me and my son had to go to the police station and file another police report, like always. And I remember the deputy that was taking the report, he was asking my son, who was 5, he was asking my son about everything that happened. And as my son was giving his account and he was telling the deputy everything that was happening, everything that he saw happen, you know, I was just crying. Tears just falling from my eyes. I was just crying. And I just knew that was the last day that I was going to sit in a police station. That was the last day that me and my child were going to have to fill out a police report. That was the last day I was going to have to go to a hospital. I might have to go to a hospital again. That's what I told God, but it won't be for nothing like this. I made up in my mind that was it. That was the last day that I was going to be called out of my name in front of my children, in front of other people. When I tell y'all, I felt like dirt. I felt like nothing. I felt like I wasn't worth nothing. And to be done like that in front of your children, I felt like I wasn't nothing. To be talked about like that, to be called out your name like that, I felt like nothing. I felt like I wasn't worth nothing. And I had made up in my mind. I said I'd never go through this another day in my life. And I was so scared because I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. Because at this time, all I had was a part-time security guard job. And I was working 3 days, 21 hours a week. And I was getting paid $7.25 an hour. And I was working 21 hours a week. And then they had the nerve to pay us every 2 weeks. So y'all know I wasn't making nothing. And I had to wait 2 weeks just to get that little change. So I ain't know how I was going to make it. My bills completely outweighed that. Had no idea how I was going to make it. But I told God, I said, Lord, I said, all my life I done talked about you. I done preached about you. I done heard about you. And I said, now God, I need you. I need you. I need you to show yourself to me. I need you. And I told God, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I can't do this right here no more. And so that was the last day. And at that point was when we separated. And a couple months later, the divorce was final. And so after that, I was left with, what do I do? What do I do? You know what I'm saying? Like I had, and this was going back, okay, rewind a little bit before the divorce was finalized. I was left with a stack of bills that were behind. Every bill I had was behind. Every bill I had was behind. I was behind on everything. And the car I had wasn't no good. I remember the brakes had went out on me. I was driving home from work one night and the brakes. Y'all bear with me. I was driving home one night from work and my brakes went out. And I was coming from Alabama. to Georgia, and my brakes went out. And I remember I was coming over the railroad track, and it was an 18-wheeler that pulled out in front of me. And I hit the brakes. You know how the trucks just pull out of nowhere in front of you. And I hit the brakes, and the car wouldn't stop. And when I tell you I hit the brakes, I remember I put both of my feet on the brake. And I was squeezing with everything I had. And I say, my faith tell me that God sent an angel that night. Do you hear me? God sent an angel that night. I know it wasn't nobody but God that stopped that car. Because I was supposed to be up under that 18-wheeler. I was supposed to be up under that truck and that trailer. Some kind of way the car stopped. By the glory and the mercy and the grace of God, the car stopped. And I was able to, slow down enough to let the truck go on in front of me, let the trailer go on. And I was able to make it to Blakely. I had to stay way back from anybody. I had to make sure I was way off because the car was barely stopping when I hit the brakes. And I remember when I finally got in Blakely, I had to pull in. I said, Lord, how in the world I'm going to stop this car? I had to pull in to the car wash. And when I pulled into the car wash, I just had to let the car just roll up on the curb. And that's how I was able to stop the car. It rolled up on the curb. But it was hard. When I made that decision to go, it was not easy. I struggled. It was hard. I can remember days, like I said, the house that I was staying in, I didn't have heat. I remember nights because I didn't want my babies to see me cry. I ain't want them to see me cry. Cause they always saw their mama as just this strong person. And I want them to know that I'm strong. I don't want them to see me as weak. So I can remember when it's nights when I put my kids to bed, and it would be freezing in my house. It would be freezing. And the way I kept us warm was I would turn on the oven. And I would open up the door to the oven. And I turn on all 4 of the eyes on the stove. And I turn on the oven. And I can remember I used to couldn't leave it on while I was at work because I was scared how it was gonna burn up. Scared the house was gonna burn up. So whenever I had to work late, I had to rush home before I went and got the children. I had to rush home and come and cut the stove on, cut the oven on. But it would take all day for the heat to circulate throughout the house. So when I would go get the kids from, with a family member or a daycare or whoever they was with, and I get them in the house, it'd still be cold. And I can remember I bring my kids in the house, and y'all, it used to hurt me so bad because they said, Mama, it's cold in here. So I, wrap them up, get them warm. And I go stand in front of my stove. And I would just cry to God. I would just cry to God. But I would never let them see me cry. I said I'm not gonna let them, see me weak. So I would stand in front of my stove. And this was after the separation. I stand in front of that stove and I just cry. And I just cried. Now, I wasn't just crying as in being depressed and crying, even though I was depressed, but I was crying to God. I was crying to God because it was so hard. And I told God, I said, now I done left because I know I can't do this no more. It was hard. Ain't no way around it. It was hard. And so y'all bear with me. Just bear with me. I had all these bills. Didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. So the Lord blessed me. I went to the job that I got in Alabama. Well, back up. I was a security guard in Blakely, and they had an opening for a security job at a facility in Dothan. And my supervisor, I remember she came to me. She said, they got a position open for full time as a security guard at this place in Dothan. And I said, without no hesitation, I said, I take it. I take it. Because I had already told God, I said, God, I can't take care of these children working 21 hours a week. Because I had took that job so that I could be home with them more. So I could spend more time with them, you know, be there when they get off the school bus. And, you know, because I had them been through that period of time where I had to work 2 jobs. Work 2 full-time jobs, 2 part-time jobs. And, you know, when you ain't there with your kids and stuff, ain't nobody gonna take care of your kids like you gonna take care of your kids. So I had got to the point where I said, I ain't even worried about the money. This was when I was in the marriage. I said, I ain't even worried about the money. I'm gonna just take a, you know, a part-time minimum wage job so I could be with my kids. And but after the separation, I was like, well, I gotta work. I gotta work full time because I gotta pay these bills. How in the world? And it was to the point where me and my kids was gonna be kicked out on the street. Rent was behind, everything was behind, and I didn't know how we were gonna make it. And I remember I told God, I said, God, I said I don't want to. I said, but I go to the chicken plant. I said I go to the chicken plant. I go in the cold and where it's wet all through there and it's cold in there and it smells. And I told God, I said, I go to the chicken plant and I cut chicken all night long. I do whatever I need to do. I cut chicken all day long to take care of me and my children. Matter of fact, that's what I had made up in my mind that I was going to do. I made up in my mind that I was going to go to the chicken plant. Because they always hiring. I'm like, Lord, I go back there because I hadn't worked there before I had children. And I said, I go back to the chicken plant. But God is so good. This position came open at this place in Alabama. And I can't say the name for confidential reasons. But I got a job there. I took that job that was open. And the people there were just so wonderful. They were so wonderful. They fell in love with me and I fell in love with them. And I remember the security guard contract was ending. And that meant that I was going to lose my job there and that I was going to have to go back to Blakely. But they said, we love you so much, we can't let you go. We can't let you go. And they said, we're gonna create a job for you. We'll create a job for you. We'll create a position for you. Don't tell me God ain't real. So they created a position for me in order to keep me there. And God blessed me to make double what I was making as a security guard. And that job had, I was able to get benefits, great benefits. It was an awesome place to work. I grew so much while I was there. I learned so much while I was there. Just an amazing group of people. And then they took me in and they just loved me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just love from day one, from the first day I was there. They took me and I was so broken. I was so broken when I went in there. I was so broken, y'all. From that marriage, from just the pain that I had went through, from everything I had took, from everything I had dealt with. A person can call you out of your name so many times to you just don't even, you start feeling like that's who you really are. And that's just how broken I was. I started feeling like that's what I really was. That I really wasn't nothing. You know? That I really was a B. That I really was a MF. That you know what I'm saying? You just take so much abuse that's what you start feeling like. So I was so broken. But they took me in and they loved me. And I grew so much. And I was there 2 years, about 2.5 years. And that's when I was able to come. I'm telling y'all my journey. I'm describing everything to you because I want you to feel my journey. I want you to get a glimpse into my journey and how I came to be at this point. But and I still have a whole lot more growing to do. But I thank God that I'm not back there anymore. I'm not where I used to be. Because I got to the point where I could remember one day I was sitting on this job. And I was doing great, by the way. I had started making enough money to upgrade my car. I traded in that broke down car. And I remember I got me and my kids. We got it was a 2012 Ford Focus. And they were just so happy. They were so happy, and I was so happy. And you know, I was making double the money that I made as a security guard. I had good benefits on the job. I was able to pay all my bills. Not only pay them, but I was able to pay them up in advance. And we were doing really well. And we ended up moving from Georgia, moving over to Alabama so I could be closer to the job. And we were doing really well. And then things started happening with my oldest son. Because my oldest son, he's a junior. And when I tell you he love his daddy, he love his daddy. He love his daddy. And to him, his daddy can't do no wrong. Even out of everything that he's seen, he love his daddy. And he was with his daddy from day one. Him and his daddy was like this. Do you hear me? They was like this. And it did something to him when we divorced. Before we divorced, my son was a straight A student. My baby was a straight A student. He never made a B. He was always principal scholar. He never made a B. After the divorce, it did something to him. Emotionally. I feel like it, you know, being a mama and looking at your kids, you know your kids, you birthed them. You had them, so you know them. You know them. And it did something to him. That really hurt my son. My other kids, they were smaller, you know. It didn't really affect them as much, but my oldest son, it affected him a lot. To go to see the, you know, to go through the separation and the divorce, and to see me go this way and his daddy go that way, that hurt him. Because my son, and he done told me this plenty of times, he loved me, but he say, I love my mama and my daddy. And he say, you know, and that let me know that just as much as he loved me, he loved his daddy. And like I say, he was a straight A student before the divorce. After the divorce, we moved, and my son's behavior just went. It was crazy. He would get into fights every day. It was about every time I turn around, he was getting into a fight. He was getting kicked out of school. He was getting suspended. He was his grades went from straight A's to when we moved to Alabama, he was failing every subject. He was failing every subject. And so, you know, I'm just telling y'all about all of this to just let you know, that divorce is hard. It's hard. You suffer a lot through that. And when you got kids, you're not the only one that suffer. Them kids suffering more than you. They suffering more than you. And so I want to tell you, sometimes it have to get worse before it get better. Yeah. Sometimes it have to get worse before it get better. But you know, we went through all of that. We went through all of that. It was hard, but eventually it kind of started to level out. And my son's grades started to, they haven't gotten all the way back to where they was in the beginning, but he's doing a whole lot better. He's doing a whole lot better today. Through prayer and through the mercy and the grace of God, he's doing a whole lot better today. But I want to say this to the woman that is still stuck. You still back there trying to figure out how you gonna make it, how you gonna do it. I want to tell you, you're gonna face a lot of obstacles. You're gonna face a lot of problems. You probably ain't even seen the worst yet. Whether you getting ready to file your divorce, or whether you just got served, or whether you know, you in the middle of a nasty divorce, or whether you getting ready to come, you know, whether it was just finalized, or even if it was finalized 2 years ago. Because nobody can put a time limit on your healing time. Who knows how long it's going to take you to heal from that? Because you was in something that you thought was going to last forever. And then it ended. But I want to tell you that there is life after your divorce. There is life. And I can tell you that because even though I suffered, even though I went through it, even though, you know, it were days and times that I couldn't do for my kids, that I couldn't do for myself, and I couldn't do for them. And y'all, I can remember times when I ain't even told y'all the half of it. I can remember times where we stayed in a motel. Yeah, I remember when I was pregnant with my youngest son. I was pregnant with my youngest son, and then I had 2 other babies. And we were staying in a motel. And I remember walking to work. I remember I was working, well, I don't even know if I could say the name. I ain't gonna say the name, but I was working in like a general store. I'll say that. And I had to walk to work, and I had to take my kids with me. Me and my kids was walking to work together, and I had to walk them over to somebody's house to keep them while I went to work. I can remember times where I have to walk home from that job at night. Dogs were chasing me. It was hard. It was hard. But I pushed through it. Through the grace and the mercy of God, I pushed through it. And fast forward to the job that I was telling y'all that I was on. Y'all, I'm not really good at storytelling. So you may get a right here, then you may get a flashback, then you might have to come back, then you might get another flashback. I'm sorry about that, y'all. But because I'm not good at storytelling. But coming back to me being on that job, I remember being there one day and the Lord spoke to me. And I just couldn't be there no more. And I put in my 2-week notice. The Lord told me to leave that job. He told me to leave. It was time for me to walk in my purpose. He told me to leave that job. I went through a season of isolation. This is why I tell you, when you think you done went through the worst, it seemed like something else will hit you sometime. So I went through a period of isolation. I cried like a baby. This was after me, I done upgraded me and my kids, you know, still going through the things with my son, my oldest son, but I was steady pushing. And I left the job. I sat here in this house. I cried like a baby. I prayed. I cut the TV off. I stopped watching TV. I got off of social media. No social media. God said no social media at all, y'all. I got off Facebook. I got off Instagram. I ain't never do Twitter, but I got off everything. I got off Snapchat, everything. Because the only thing I used Snapchat for was to take the pictures with the little filters. But God said I couldn't even do that. Nobody but me and him for 60 days straight. And I cried like a baby because it was so hard. It was so hard. And during that time, I prayed. I talked to God. I said my affirmations every day. I told myself, I am beautiful. I am successful. I spoke life over me. I spoke life over my children. No matter what my son was doing, I didn't speak that. I spoke what I wanted to see. And I only listen to motivational videos. I only listen to motivational content. I listen to E.T., Dr. Miles Monroe. I thank God for Dr. Miles Monroe. He and his wife passed away in 2014, but his kids carry on his legacy. And he has a lot of content on YouTube. And I would just watch his videos every day. Every day. Every day. Every day. I listened to him all day, every day. He just spoke to my soul. And I just listened every day. And I cried. And it was hard because I wanted to turn on the TV. I wanted to go play that song that would make me feel better. I wanted to call my ex. I just wanted to I just wanted to get out of it. But I sat in it. I sat in it. And I did what God instructed me to do. And I sat there. And after a while, glory be to God. After a while, something shifted in me. And I'm so glad, sitting here today, I could tell y'all that I'm so glad that I didn't go back. I'm so glad that I didn't give up. And I'm so glad that I stayed in that season of isolation. Because after I came out of that isolation, I was ready. I was ready. I was ready. Do you hear me? After I came out of that isolation, I went and did everything that everybody told me I couldn't do. I felt it in my spirit. God said, go get everything I told you was yours. Go get it. Y'all, I started my business. I started my podcast. I started the Divine Ones. I created the Divine Ones Facebook group, and I just started going live in the Facebook group. I just started going live. I started going live. I was afraid. I was nervous. I was scared. But I just started doing live videos. And it felt good. It felt good to motivate people. It felt good to speak life into people. It felt awesome. It made me feel like I was somebody. It made me feel like this is my element. You know what I'm saying? Like I struggled in everything else, but it was like when it came to this was my element. It felt so good. I felt liberated. I felt free. Now, it was hard. I struggled for a little while now after I quit my job. I struggled. They cut my car off. I couldn't drive my car because the people that I got the car from, you don't pay them when you're supposed to, beloved. They cut you off. Click. They cut you off. So you have your car, but you can't drive it. So I had to go through a period of time where they cut my car off. They cut my phone off. I ain't have no phone. I had to just pay my Wi-Fi bill. And I downloaded an app on my phone so I could be able to call people from the app using the Wi-Fi. But whenever I wasn't around Wi-Fi, I couldn't even use my phone. If I wasn't around Wi-Fi, I couldn't call nobody. Couldn't nobody call me because my phone was off. And I remember, I just sit here and I be smiling. I just be smiling. I be laughing because I said out of everything I went through back there and God brought me out of that, surely he gonna bring me out of this. Surely he is. And so by this time I had a new mindset because when I went through that period of isolation, God renewed my mindset. When I got rid of all that toxic stuff I was listening to, watching, all them toxic people that I was sitting around, being around, I left everything. God even told me to step away from my church for a minute. I left everything. And God was my only influence. I wasn't listening to nobody else. Only God. But when I came out of that isolation, God said, you ready. And that's when I started my business. And I ain't looked back since. And today I sit here and I speak to you as a certified life coach. I am a certified life coach. I received my certification from Tony Gaskins. So I am a certified life coach. I'm an author of 2 books. I have self-published 2 books. I have a LLC. I have a business. I'm a mentor. I have a group of ladies that I mentor from all over the world. I'm a consultant. I coach and I teach people how to do everything that I've done. God is awesome, y'all. God is awesome. And I sit here tonight and I speak to you as a person that is full-time in purpose. God blessed me to where I did not have to work for nobody. I ain't got to work for nobody else. I'm full-time in my purpose. I can remember times when I had to work in that rat race, running. Got to run and take the kids to daycare. Got to run to work, make sure I clock in on time. Got to run out of the building, run into the daycare, go pick my kids up, get them home, get them doing their homework, doing this, doing that, and get them in the bed so we can do the same thing all over the next day. And then, Lord forbid, one of them gets sick. They get sick, I got to miss work. I don't know if I got time to take off. I don't know if I have paid time to be able to take off. I don't know if they're going to write me up, if they're going to fire me. I don't know. My baby's sick. I'm stuck at work. I'm trying to get off of work so I could. I'm telling y'all, I went through it. But I never gave up. I ain't never give up. And I want to tell you ladies, it might be hard for you right now, but don't you give up. Don't you give up. You got to keep fighting. You know why you got to keep fighting? Because there are other women. Every day I have a woman tell me that she thank God for me. Every day I have a woman tell me that I motivate her, that I inspire her, that I changed her life. And you know what? If I had gave up, glory be to God. If I had gave up, I would have never been able to inspire that young lady. If I had gave up, I would have never been able to reach the people that I reached today. I would have never been able to do it. And I still got a long way to go, y'all. I ain't, I still got a long way to go. But I thank God that I'm not where I used to be. And so I figure, why not give you a glimpse into my life? Give you a glimpse into my story. Why not, air some of my dirty laundry in the hopes that it'll inspire another woman that is trying to figure out how she gonna make it, and she is facing divorce, or she is coming out of a divorce. I want to tell you that you can make it. I want to tell you that with God all things are possible. Is it gonna be easy? No, it ain't gonna be easy. But you got a fight. You got fight on the inside of you. You got a champion on the inside of you, and that champion is called God. Because had it not been for God, I wouldn't have made it. I would have died back there. I would have never made it. But because the hand of God was upon my life, and because the Lord's purpose will prevail, many are the plans in a person's heart, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. And the Lord's purpose for my life prevailed. The purpose won. And I want to tell you that the reason I can tell you that there's life after that divorce is because God has a purpose for your life. And because of that purpose, he going to pull you through that. It might be hard. You might be going through with your children, but God going to pull you out of that. He going to pull you through it. He going to push you through it. You going to have to cry. You might have to do it with tears in your eyes. You might have to do it scared. But by all means, you still got to do it. Don't never stop. Even if you got to crawl, keep a steady pace and keep moving. Keep going. Keep going. Because if I did all this, and I'm still doing more, I'm still creating, I'm still developing, I'm still growing. If I can do it, you can do it. You can do it. And now I sit here in the comfort of my house. I don't have to run my kids nowhere. They ain't got to go to nobody daycare. I am the daycare. They ain't got to go to nobody. They stay right here with me. The Lord blessed me to be able to do that. And I'm here with them. And I didn't even mention that my youngest son has autism. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. At the age of 3. So I had to deal with that too, alone. I had to sit in the doctor's office, sit in the psychiatrist's office and listen to this doctor tell me that my child was autistic. And I had to sit there alone. I went through that with him. his temper tantrums, his meltdowns. We still going through it to this day. But through the mercy and the grace of God, both of my boys were able to get therapy. And it's better now. It's better now. And I want to tell you that, like I said, sometimes it have to get worse before it get better. But it's going to get better. It's going to get better. You going to make it. You can do it. You can do it. But I love you. Sometimes you may feel like you're drinking tears for water. But keep going. Keep pressing. Because there's life after this divorce. I love y'all so much. Now, I want you to go to my website, LatoyaOkeiaMinistries.com. Like I said, I'm a certified life coach, and I coach women that are going through a divorce. Maybe you're facing a divorce, or you're in the middle of a divorce, or you're just coming out of a divorce. Or maybe it's been 5 years, and you still dealing with that trauma. You still trying to heal from that pain. Reach out to me and book a session. I coach on a lot of other topics as well, but I wanted to do this video to reach out to my ladies that are in need of emotional and spiritual coaching throughout your divorce. Reach out to me, because I want to help you. I want to support you emotionally, mentally. I want to be able to support you and help you throughout this time, because I ain't have nobody when I went through that. I suffered. Me and my kids, all I had was God. And so I told God, because you were so good to me, you brought me out of that, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping other women that were just like me, that stuck, just like I was stuck. I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping to pull my sisters out. But I love y'all. Click that link down there in the description and book your session today for divorce coaching with me. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. With God, all things are possible. I love you so much. Y'all are my divine sisters in Christ. This has been Latoya Okeia, your life coach and motivational speaker. I'll check in with y'all next time.